Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube. So what I'm going to do is today I'm going to go over some armor calculator stuff with the new vehicles, which would be the Ontos, the BWP-2000, and the object, I forgot its serial number, but we'll just call it the doorstop. You'll see why when we get to the vehicle. But anyway, so let's do some quick comparisons here. We'll start with the Ontos. It is the Tier 4 prize tank. All right, what else should we put up here? Let's throw up the Scorpion 90. So maybe we can compare some speed and some camouflage factors. What else can we put up here? What else do we have at Tier 4? Here we go. Here's another TD, even though it's a wheeled TD. So there you go. There's the stats. We'll throw those up. I'm not going to compare an MBT because an MBT would be a totally different animal. Obviously having more hit points, having more armor, and being slower. But as you can see, here we'll also add the OA82 because it's also got recoilless rifles. So as you can see, out of the 4 vehicles I have up here, all these are, well, the Scorpion is the only one that's got maximum research here. And as you can see, here, let's throw in the Lav 192, shall we? As you can see, it is the leader for damage, and it is the leader for penetration. Actually, we can probably compare it to a 105mm gun from the Magak, and it still has less penetration. So it's got really good penetration. It's got really good alpha. It's actually got a pretty good rate of fire with its guns. Its reload time, well, its reload time is kind of weird. So it's got a 26.67 second reload, which is, it kind of on paper looks to be the slowest, but realize that it's actually got 6 shots. So each shot fired will be a difference in individual reload. I don't remember what each individual shot is. So hit points wise, it is comparable to the OA82, which actually makes it the bottom of the dog pile here. Armor wise, it's not the bottom of the dog pile. Actually, it's very comparable to the Scorpion 90. But, I mean, you know, seriously, it's 20mm is pretty much no armor. I mean, yeah, it's better than the Zalo S, and it's better than the OA82, and it's better than the Lav, but, I mean, seriously, it's still pretty shat. And that's even the same case with the turrets here. Maximum speed, it is definitely not the fastest vehicle, but it is a tracked vehicle. It is faster than the Magak, and that's really all I can say about that. It's not a fast vehicle. It's not meant to be a fast vehicle, which is actually kind of interesting for what its role was. Vehicle mass, it's not the heaviest vehicle. It's not the lightest vehicle of the dog pile. There's the view ranges. View range is pretty decent, but understand I actually do have optics on this to boost my view range. So it's probably somewhere between the Zalo and the Scorpion when you consider the bonus I get from the view range. Still better than Lav 150-90 and still better than an MBT, but still not great. Gun depression and gun elevation. Once again, not the top of the dog pile, not the bottom. Negative 10 degrees, as you can see, Scorpion's negative 10. Lav 150-90 is negative 10. And you might as well consider the Magak negative 10 as well. I mean, it's negative 9. That 1 degree difference won't make a major change. And even the Zalo is very marginal for gun depression. However, it does easily win out over the OA82. So that's very noticeable. The spread, the accuracy on this thing is actually quite bad, especially for a TD. The aim time also, it feels quite bad, even compared to the Scorpion 90. For some odd reason, the Scorpion 90 is 2.41, and even the OA82 is 2.64, but it feels worse than 2.27. And I actually do have an aim time upgrade on this. Or an aim time module. Turret traverse. Well, yeah, it's got 40 degrees, but to consider it having turret traverse is really an overstatement. It's kind of got a half functional turret. The guns move left and right, but they don't go past the sides of the tank. It's not a 360 turret traverse. As you can see here, it's only 80 degrees. It's 40 degrees left and right from center. So there you go. There's the stat comparisons. All right, so let's clear all that, and we will take a quick armor inspector look of the vehicle so people can see it. Just give me a moment because I'm kind of going goofball here. And we'll pull up the armor calculator. Now, obviously, it can easily penetrate itself with its M40 cannons, but I'm more or less just trying to show you the armor values, and they're not good. I mean, like I said, it's not very good. Now, obviously, as I said earlier, it's got 20 millimeter of hull thickness. The upper plate itself is 20 millimeters thick. However, when you consider the sharp angle, it's much thicker. There really is nowhere it's going to bounce. You'd be surprised though, sometimes you do get a lucky bounce. Here we go. Here's an area that's not as thick. As you can see, we're only getting 16 millimeters out of its 5 millimeter plate of armor. But it's not as well sloped. Basically, do not count on this vehicle's armor. That's the moral of the story here. All right, now I don't have the other vehicles, but I can pull up the stats. So now we're going to clear this out, and we're going to pop up tier 7s. And unfortunately, I'm also going to have to pop up the reserve vehicles, which will be the Warrior. Let's add that to comparison first. Let's see, what else do we have at tier 7? I think that's really it for AFVs, isn't it? All right, so let's click on the battle path here. Let's go to rank. And rank 30. Let's get to rank 30. Here we go. Add to compare. So there we go. There's the Warrior versus the BWP-2000. Now, one thing I want to point out with the reload times, yes, it is a 1.55 second reload with the Warrior's automatic cannon. However, it is a 6-shot automatic cannon versus the 16 shots of the BWP-2000. And the BWP-2000 autocannon is definitely a much harder hitting autocannon. Definitely superior in penetration, definitely superior in damage per minute. And look at that alpha damage at 200. Hit points. We lose out on hit points with the BWP. We lose out actually in armor with the BWP, especially considering the Warrior has various ERA and add-on armor packages. And we got the same case with the turret. Max speed, the Warrior wins out. Generally here, actually, as you can see, the Warrior actually wins. Now the vehicle mass, the BWP wins out, but that's really only important if you're planning on ramming. And if you're ramming in a BWP, you're probably having a bad day. The hull traverse is much superior and stands out over the Warrior. The view range stands out over the Warrior as well. Camouflage factors are negligible. 1% means nothing. Now we have better gun depression on the Warrior, which will slightly be noticeable, but not overly so. However, the elevation will be noticeable with the additional 5 degrees that the BWP has over the Warrior. Next thing is the minimum spread. As you can see, the BWP wins in the accuracy game. You have a slightly worse aim time with the BWP, and that actually will be slightly noticeable. It's almost a half a second difference. Quarter second difference. Turret traverse, the Warrior wins out. So here there's really no clear winner. In general stats, I would say the Warrior is superior for things such as hit points and armor, speed. Generally, the Warrior wins out. However, for a harder hitting cannon on an AFV, the BWP-2000 definitely wins out. Much harder hitting gun. And even though both vehicles have ATGMs, even in the ATGM realm, the Warrior actually loses out. Consider the BWP actually has 2 harder hitting ATGM missiles. All right, let's do an armor comparison here if we can. Here we go. So there's the model. Let's pull up the armor calculator, and as you can see, it's actually pretty bad. There's a couple of spots where you might be able to bounce some autocannon munitions, but I really would not count on this thing's armor. But hey, it's an AFV. You're not meant to count on its armor. You got a really weird spot here. That's pretty much an auto bounce due to the sloping. And you'll probably be able to penetrate, which you will. You'll be able to pretty much penetrate with any high explosive on the rear. And probably even the side, to be honest. Yes, even on the side. So pretty much at this vehicle's tier, any high explosive will penetrate this thing's rear and side. Let's get back to the front. Show you some thickness here. 84 millimeters. That you probably won't be able to penetrate with high explosive. And you're definitely not going to penetrate the upper glacis with high explosive. The turret's slightly stronger. The turret's actually just as strong as it is with the upper plate slope. And one thing I want to point out is this vehicle is not amphibious. Okay, so the last vehicle, the object. Let's pull it up. Let's get in here. Okay, this is the level 50 price tank. So let's add this to compare. Okay. What other vehicles are we going to add to compare? Because in all honesty, this vehicle is really weird. I'll have to show that in a later video. Well, I'm going to just add my MBTs I own. And we'll just go from there. And I'll even add the AFT. And I'll get to why here in a bit. So as you can see, the damage of the 152 millimeter on the doorstop, the Object 490, is superior. Now, the Abrams here, this does not have the 140 mil gun. I have the 120 mil gun. So I'm going to win on the rate of fire, as you can see. I'm also winning on the rate, the reload speed. The Alte obviously has a ready rack system, and once again, I am easily winning out on the rate of fire. But in all 3 vehicles, I am losing out on the alpha damage. I am losing out on some armor penetration of the Alte, and surprisingly, I'm losing out on some armor penetration of the M1 Abrams. The XM1A3, I feel, has one of the best penetrations for its 120 millimeter gun. This might actually be the stats for the heat rounds, not the AP rounds. And the AFT, well, yeah, the AFT kind of storms that one. Damage per minute, it is easily the blue ribbon loser. It does not even hit 5,000 damage per minute. In all honesty, I feel that damage per minute is actually quite embarrassing. The reload time is actually quite slow for a cannon. It is almost 14 seconds. Where consider the Alte is 7.53, the M1 Abrams is 6 seconds, and the 8 shots of the AFT is 27.23 seconds. So just slightly over 27 seconds, and I can have 8 shots ready to rock and roll and end your day in the AFT-10. So the AFT-10 kind of wins out here for damage. Now, hit points. Well, it's not the blue ribbon loser. Consider the AFT-10 is a tier 10 tank destroyer. However, compared to other MBTs, it is the blue ribbon loser. And it is considered an MBT, but that's still kind of one of those things, well, we could argue with that a bit. The Alte, well, for armor, it actually does outperform most other tanks. The M1 Abrams actually has the better armor. However, the problem is with the M1 Abrams armor is it has a notorious weak spot on the front. There actually really is no weak spots on the front of this except for the lower glacis plate, and I'll show you that in the armor calculator. So you have spaced composite armor. It is a mixed type of armor. There is some spaced armor on the front. Actually, the weird thing is there's a couple plates of spaced armor on the side. Once again, I'll show you that in the armor calculator. While we have composite, and straight up steel. Straight up steel is a bad thing at this tier. Turret armor. It is easily the blue ribbon winner. What, you think I was going to say blue ribbon loser? However, when it comes to the side, the Alte wins out. And when it comes to the rear of the turret, it actually wins out over the other one. So turret armor, it's pretty superior vehicle for the most part for armor. And actually, you might as well say it is the superior vehicle for armor. And that's mostly got to do with the sharp sloping. The maximum speed, it's actually the faster of the vehicles. As you can see here. Now, when it comes to acceleration, it's definitely not the blue ribbon winner, but it is not the loser either, as the M1 Abrams is the slower of the tanks for acceleration wise. Vehicle mass, it's definitely not heavy by any stretch of the imagination. As you can see, the M1 Abrams is definitely the winner here, with the Alte being a good follow-up. And one thing I want to point out, though, is once again here, the vehicle mass for this vehicle really doesn't matter, and the only time you should be ramming is out of absolute desperation, desperation. Hull Traverse, it's the blue ribbon loser in Hull Traverse, 27.77 degrees per second, and as you can see here, the Alte is almost double. The M1 Abrams is not quite 10 degrees faster, and we have almost 20 degrees with the AFT. Camo factors. It does not have the highest camo factor of any MBT. As you can see, the Alte wins, but my Alte has camo paint, so that might make a part of a difference for this camo rating. These two vehicles are actually probably both about the same. Definitely much better than the Abrams. However, it's worse than the AFT, and let me admit to you that the AFT's camo is really not very good in practice. It's actually pretty shit. So we'll let that go at that. View range on the move, it is the blue ribbon loser. What do you expect? It's Russian. It's cannon depression. It's really actually 0. Well, it's not quite 0. It's actually better than 0. I'm not sure why they're not showing anything here. The suspension does help too with the elevation and depression. However, it still loses out when you compare it to the Alte, and even in practice, the M1 Abrams actually feels better. The minimum spread, as you can see, it is not the best in accuracy. Aim time, it is easily the worst in accuracy, almost a second slower than the Alte, and it's actually quite a bit slower than the Abrams. Turret traverse, once again, just horrible numbers there. So there you go. There is the stat numbers for the doorstop. Okay, let me get us to that vehicle again, and I will show you the armor inspector. Now, this armor inspector is quite interesting. Okay, so there you go. Look at all that red. Pretty much everything except for the lower glacis is red. You are not going to penetrate anything. These spots, I believe you could do module damage, but I don't think you're actually going to do any real damage, let alone that's a really tiny spot to hit. So you're going to want to count on the lower glacis to hit it. But as you can see, the armor is quite thick, and this vehicle is well angled. Now here's where it gets weird, right here. I do not have an explanation of why these spots are red. I want to take some actually more time to study the vehicle and see if I can't find out why these spots are red, or more or less why is there more armor here. I'm not sure if maybe the ammo rack is behind there, if maybe the crew is behind here and it's extra crew protection. You can shoot the gun, but the gun, I believe, goes under as robotic, so you're going to do reduced damage to the gun. And as you can see here, there's even some additional armor thickness here. So basically, if you're going to shoot it on the side, try and shoot it up towards the front, like right under the center of the gun, or slightly forward of it, or shoot it way back here, right below that machine gun turret. Let me go back to the model. So there's the machine gun turret. Okay, so there you go. Shoot this. The bolted plate. Shoot the bolted plate if you shoot it from the side. Don't shoot here. Don't shoot. Well, you could shoot here, but there's much better spots to shoot all over the vehicle. Okay, and the ass is completely flat. And I believe actually there's some spots here you might, if you get lucky, be able to penetrate with high explosive, but I would not count on it. Maybe if you had like the T14 152, or maybe even another one of these, you could shoot that with high explosive. An M1 Abram, the XM1A3 with its 140 millimeter heat rounds could have a field day on this thing's rear. And you get the exact same armor calculation on the opposite side of the vehicle. So there's no surprises. You know what the armor is. These don't do anything. As I said, I would not count on hitting the gun. It's going to be reduced damage. So yeah, there you go, folks. Give you a good look at the doorstop here, since that's the big prize. And honestly, to me, it's just kind of lulz. You know, it's the doorstop. I mean, come on, does it not look like a doorstop? I've also heard people call it the wedge. So there you go. The wedge or the doorstop. I like doorstop better. Just looks like something you kick under a door just to kind of jam the door. And there's quite a few problems I have with this vehicle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do it this video. I'm going to do another video covering these vehicles. I'm going to take all three vehicles out into the vehicle testing area so you guys can see the vehicles. It will take some copy and stuff like that and some video editing. But so that is going to actually cover this video. I just wanted to show you the Grand Poobah prize tanks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. And yes, like the video. If you like the video, put in any feedback if you want to. Anything like that. I actually do read the comments. But anyway, folks, once again, thank you very much for watching. And I hope to see you for the next one.